Wow. I've given a pass to a lot of episodes this season. When people chanted filler episode, I kind of saw the value in it. Episode 1 and 2 for me were pretty great, visiting Sereno and the place where Dooku practically grew up. Even episode 4 with all that rehashing of the Phantom Menace kinda. But this one, man, this was a terrible episode. On par with a lot of the other episodes that kind of were redeemed at the end, this one was not only pointless, they didn't get what they went for, which has become a staple in these Bad Batch episodes. They go for the treasure and they come out empty-handed. Nothing was really achieved, only quote-unquote a lesson that Omega should have learned by now. But this episode is doubly worse because not only is this just a pointless venture only for Omega to learn how to grow up, which again, she should have done so by now. But the worst part is that it ends on a cliffhanger. So by the way, episode 10 will still continue on this rocky planet that the Bad Batch had nothing to do with in the first place. You can kind of hear my frustration. I was pretty frustrated with this episode, and now that I know next week won't be any better, I suppose so, I'm not looking forward to the other episodes, so cross your fingers and hope March 1st comes very fast, because we need a change of pace with The Mandalorian for sure. However, my love for Star Wars supersedes everything, so we're going to talk about this episode, episode 9, The Crossing. Not much I can say, but give you a brief summary of what happened, and also let's start with some Easter eggs as well. The gang goes on a barren landscape, and we discover that they have been given a mission from Sid to search any remaining Ipsium on a mine she recently purchased. So it's immediately made clear that the mood around the group is not very cheerful. We know that Echo is now gone, and Omega especially is feeling that the hole that has been left. However, they're trying to adjust, and in last week's episode we saw glimmers of hope, seeing Palpatine back again, some clones. As I said, the moment the Bad Batch come together, it seems like the episodes are just a letdown altogether. The best episodes this season have been without the Bad Batch, and that's just a fact. Today's episode just reminded me again that this work, and perhaps the showrunners are trying to tell that us too, although it's being overplayed now, that this pointless run of missions by Sid is just going nowhere. They're not getting the money they need. They're not getting even the materials they need. Every time they go on a mission, they fail. So this may lead them to the path to Captain Rex, similar to Echo. They might finally join him in saving other clones or saving the galaxy, whatever comes first. As they work on the Ipsium, it does not go as planned. Wrecker is left outside to stand guard. However, the Marauder is stolen by a nearby poacher, pirate, whatever you want to call him. We see that Omega is frustrated by this most of all because she feels like the Marauder was her home. They can't just abandon it. As they try to make it past to another town, it's another obstacle because now a stampede of creatures are running towards them inside a canyon. For those who didn't notice, of course, this stampede was a direct reference to The Lion King, where Simba is running away from the stampede orchestrated by Scar, and this is the very famous scene where Mufasa basically sacrifices himself in order to save Simba. Naturally, the very famous death scene of Mufasa, aka also another reference, Mufasa, who died on this stampede, was voiced by James Earl Jones, who voiced Darth Vader 2, Star Wars Lion King connection. Now a storm is coming as well. This is when they reach another mining station that they enter in, and something that we've become accustomed to, they leave the merch behind, the Ipsium. Even back in the beginning, Tech explained that if the Ipsium gets into hard contact, it might blow up similar to a bomb. And this is exactly what happens with the storm. They run away, but the case where the Ipsium is gets entangled into the storm that finally blows up the nearby area, caving in the cave that they entered in. There is a brief blow-up between Tech and Omega. This is where you could say the boiling point reaches, because Omega is frustrated with the Marauder being stolen, but also that Echo left. Tech goes on to say that this squad existed before Echo, and it will exist after him. His pragmatic response hurts Omega so much that she wants to be alone and walks away from the group. In my mind, I think this is when Omega became kind of annoying. I know you guys want to make parallels between Hunter and Omega, and Din Djarin and Grogu. Sorry to say though, Grogu is never ever annoying in the slightest. Omega has started to become that. While the writers wanted to make Tech be kind of the adult in this place, and he has no feelings towards Echo. He in the end learns to have emotions more through Omega. I think it should have been more of the opposite. Even though Omega learned from this experience and became more of an adult, they didn't focus on that part too much. Instead, they focused on Tech. I don't think that should have been the case. We love Tech because he is technical, he is pragmatic. He does not have the outright emotions that a child should have or anybody else. He is a soldier. Omega, on the other hand, should have been the kid that should start to grow up and understand the real world. At least this was my viewpoint watching this episode. Instead of being a whiny kid, something that we know doesn't work from the prequels, she should start becoming more of an adult. Either way, as she wanders off, she finds more Ipsium, and you would think at this point that, hooray, they have found so much Ipsium that they are going to become rich. But in fact, again, they do not come out with the loot. Instead, Tech and Omega find another exit, and they decide that with the Ipsium, they will blow up this part of the cave and create another entrance/exit and get out of this place. Whatever you want to say about these episodes and about the storylines and the characters, this was a pretty beautiful episode, especially the Ipsium, the lake down below when Tech and Omega first go there. The water is pretty beautiful. There are some pretty good visuals, and in the end, all of them get out of this trap that they have entered in, and they finally find a small abandoned town where they are able to get a transmission out, at the very least without the Marauder, get Sid's help. When they request it, however, Sid simply responds with, she is tied up at the moment. Now this is when the dark side of Sid is starting to come out more. Malegi even warned Tech back in episode 4 that they should not trust Sid so blindly. This is perhaps what he meant. Tech even reminds Sid of how many times they have pulled her out of trouble. In the end, Sid reluctantly says that she'll try to help them in a couple of days, even though Hunter says that they don't have the rations necessary. And unfortunately, we are left stuck with this pointless storyline that they now have to get out of even next week. So honestly, I'm not looking forward to next week's episode either. It has become apparent that without the help of other Star Wars material, such as the Empire, the clones, Tarkin, or other areas, facets of the Jedi or the Empire, the Bad Batch on its own cannot carry this series. I don't know if you agree with me, but I would love to know what do you guys think about this opinion down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a thumbs up down below, subscribe for dailies. Now you have an awesome day, Star Wars fans. I'll see you in the next video, and may the Force be with you. Until then.